It is election day, and there's only one thing on the ballot, Proposition 50. Find out how voters are feeling ahead of this last day of in-person voting.
Coming up, the former second gentleman weighs in on Proposition 50 this election day.
And from Virginia to New Jersey to New York City, voting results are beginning to come in.
Annenberg TV News is next.
It's election day and voters across the country are heading to the polls. Hi, I'm Sebastian Soto.
I'm Lizzy Brunn. Annenberg Media's John Marco Velasquez is outside a polling center on Hoover and 30th Street right now with more.
That's right, guys, and as you can see, there are a large turnout here on the corner of 30th and Hoover, one of the many polling places across Los Angeles County where voters have come out to cast their ballots on this last day, election day, of in-person voting. And of course, there's just one thing on the ballot, and that is Proposition 50, which is a redistricting measure that would change current independently drawn congressional maps and replace them with newer legislatively drawn ones. Now, this would come into effect in 2026, and in 2030, revert back to its current independent status. Now, across Los Angeles, polling centers have been open, and we spoke and caught up with some voters about how they feel ahead of Election Day today.
It's my first time voting, so I just really want to put my vote in there to make sure my vote counts and to inspire other people that us new generation can vote and make this place better.
We are trying to make a difference that a lot of other states have been doing for a long time, and it's important that we have an involvement just as much as they do, and that we all come together to really try to make a change for future elections going forward.
I like to be counted, as a citizen, and also I want to make a difference in what's going on right now.
And according to data from the California Secretary of State, it's estimated that 5.8 million voters are registered here in Los Angeles County. Of those, around 690,000 are young voters between the ages of 18 and 25, making up roughly 11.79% of all voters. We spoke with David Seamus, former president of the Obama Foundation, who breaks down how young voters can potentially shape this upcoming election.
Youth voting is essential. Everyone voting is essential. Even when young voters are registered, their turnout rates are really low compared to everyone else. Now, it's different in different parts of the country. If you look at the New York City mayor's race, for example, youth turnout is higher than it was at this point in 2021. Still not as high as the oldest cohort of voters, but you see a significant uptick in terms of the energy of young voters. So it's a different story in different parts of the country.
That young vote, a very significant and potentially redefining vote here in Los Angeles and across California. And for those of you who have not yet voted on Prop 50, you can do so at the many polling places across the city and the county, including this one on 30th and Hoover. But just make sure you get here before 8 p.m. because that is when the boxes close and you can no longer cast your ballot. Well, that's all for now. Live in South LA, John Marco Velasquez, back to you guys at the studio.
Thanks, John Marco. LA Metro trains, buses, and bike share are free all day today. Metro says it wants to make voting more affordable and less stressful.
Prop 50 is on the ballot as voters decide whether to approve California Governor Gavin Newsom's redistricting plans. Annenberg Media's Emily Fincher spoke to political experts about what's at stake.
I'm a volunteer, and I'm just reminding you here that to vote for Prop 50, we're just making sure you turn your ballot in.
Across California this past weekend, volunteers and campaign workers hit the streets, knocking on doors and rallying voters.
We're in the final stretch for Prop 50, right? So the nation's looking at California, right? This is our opportunity to fight back against the Donald Trump's extremist attacks on us. And so what we can do is we can pass maps that will allow us to get to full lived and legal equality through being able to actually have a shot at retaking the U.S. House.
Prop 50 is important to California and to our nation because of what our core values are. We know that we're fighting for democracy. We know so many issues are on the line, and they are trying to use this election to make sure that they stay in power forever.
The opposition was also out in force this weekend, hosting rallies and urging voters to reject the measure.
Prop 50 is dehumanizing. Prop 50 is un-American. Prop 50 is undemocratic. Prop 50 is unfair. What you're doing is you are committing the sin. Prop 50 ultimately does not hurt Donald Trump. Prop 50 is going to hurt millions of Californians.
California is the only state out of all the states redistricting right now who are leaving the final choice of this up to the voters. So in all the other states, the Republican state legislators are just pushing through new maps without any public input or voter input. And in California, because the redistricting commission is in the state constitution, it really needs to go back to the vote.
Today, California voters will decide if they want to adopt Proposition 50, a move which Democratic leaders hope will help their party win 5 more seats. With Annenberg Media, I'm Emily Fincher.
Annenberg Media sat down with the former second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, who's now a visiting professor at the USC Gould Law School. We asked him about Prop 50 and efforts to protect democracy.
This is about your democracy. This is about our country. It's about what's fair. And it's about, honestly, fighting back. Of most states, even if they're so-called red states, are not 70-30, 80-20 in favor of one party. Basically having one viewpoint reflected in Congress, which is not what this democracy is. But this is an attempt to push back on non-independent redistricting. And here, at least, this is being put forth to the people of the state of California. In these other states, the people did not get to vote on it. Their governor's office and the state legislatures were just strong-armed, and they just did it by fiat, not by a vote of the people. So here, it's an election, and the people here in California get to decide what we're going to do.
California candidate for governor Betty Yee also weighed in on Proposition 50 as the way to fight Trump and other states who are gerrymandering the districts.
I support Proposition 50. This was not a fight that, frankly, we wanted to have. But when you see this Trump administration encouraging states like Texas to have a mid-decade redistricting that will mute our voice and representation in Washington, we have to fight back. These are not ordinary times. We have to fight back. We have to be sure that our voices are not muted, particularly since California has a big target on our head by this Trump administration.
In California, Prop 50 has received $57 million in donations supporting the proposition. $37 million have been raised against it. We talked to USC students to hear what they think about Prop 50.
I think it's a good measure to fight back against all the redistricting that's happening in other states. I think that it just balances the playing field out and ages out, so it's not going to be a forever thing of gerrymandering, because I don't really think that gerrymandering is the best way to go about it.
Fighting fire with fire sometimes just doesn't work out, and I don't think this is one of the cases where it shouldn't be put to test.
Polls are open in California until 8 o'clock tonight. The closest voting center to campus is at the USC Village, which also closes at 8 p.m., so there's still time to make it to vote.
There are also big races happening across the country. Reporter Sophie Sullivan has more on those races.
We're coming to you with some early results from the East Coast. Voters in Virginia and New Jersey electing new governors today. Their choices, a possible indicator of how Americans are feeling about Donald Trump's second term. Polls closed just minutes ago in New Jersey. Again, voters are deciding today their next state governor. Some early predictions had given Mikey Sherrill between a 1% and 5% lead over Republican Jack Ciattarelli. And we're seeing now, with only 28% reporting, that Sherrill has a 60.5% lead over Ciattarelli. Now, Sherrill entered politics in 2018, flipping a former Republican stronghold. Ciattarelli has 2 failed runs for governor, his platform largely aligned with Donald Trump's political agenda. And our first official result for Election Day 2025, Democrat Abigail Spanberger becomes the first female governor for the state of Virginia. The AP called the race just 1 hour after polls closed. Spanberger is a former representative for the state and a former CIA agent. She defeats current Lieutenant Governor and Republican Winsome Earl-Smith, who failed to receive Donald Trump's support. We also spoke to Democratic Senator Tim Kaine from Virginia about today's election. For full transparency, we want to let you know that Kaine is the uncle of an Annenberg Media producer.
People will get a feeling about where America is a year into Trump term 2. The results, will either create a real wind in our sails on the Democratic side, or if it doesn't turn out well, that could be cold water. I wouldn't be surprised if you see the results, if they come out the way I think, encourage some Democrats to jump into races during the midterms. They may be thinking about whether they will or whether they won't. They'll look at the Virginia outcome as a bit of a predictor about whether Dems will have a headwind or a tailwind next year. So the midterm really begins after these races.
Many across the nation wondering the significance of New Jersey and Virginia's next governor. We spoke with Politico co-founder John Harris, who tells us the national implications of these races.
And so we've seen a pattern going back, 30 or even 40 years, where Virginia in particular is a nice reflection of how people are feeling about the national direction. Typically what we've seen is when a president of one party's in power, often in Virginia, the other party prospers. What we're looking for is clues about I'd say the popularity of both parties and how are those basic brands doing. Is one party or the other overperforming or underperforming their historic average? And that's what's going to be interesting.
With Election Day at a close, we can say we have one more Democratic governor in the state of Virginia, still waiting on results in New Jersey. Results from across the country still giving us a likely hint at the mood inside of it. Back to you.
Thanks, Sophie. Students in Virginia and New Jersey have just finished voting. In their respective states, students voted on what issues they think are the most pressing.
I think a lot of students have been and are a little bit more involved in this election than they might have been, because we've kind of seen a lot of different effects of the federal government on UVA.
Some things I considered were who would help with creating more affordability, housing, what they can do about that. Education, I believe, is really important, as well as someone who could make this country and state much less polarizing in political views. I think that's a serious issue right now.
General sentiment in New Jersey is that prices are high, which is true across the country, but specifically in New Jersey, there's a real emphasis on like electricity costs, as well as taxes.
Polls on the West Coast are still open, but voting has finished in New Jersey and Virginia, with the Associated Press confirming Abigail Spanberger as the next governor of Virginia.
Polls are about to close in the race for the next mayor of New York City. Turnout for a mayoral race, according to the Associated Press, is the highest in at least 30 years. We send it over to Sydney Snyder with the latest from New York.
Good evening, Sebastian and Lizzy. I'm Sydney Snyder with the Washington Square News, and I'm here in the Big Apple ahead of New York City's long-anticipated mayoral election race. The candidates for this year's election are Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani, Independent Andrew Cuomo, and Republican Curtis Sliwa. This weekend was the highest in-person turnout for a non-presidential year election in New York ever. Students from New York City feel passionate about the results of this election.
I think my biggest concern is right now it's looking like Mamdani is going to be winning, and especially as a young woman, I'm concerned about my safety if he were to win.
A lot of people are excited by the prospect of a socialist mayor being the mayor of New York City.
When his concept of what to do with raising taxes and what to do with that money, I think is absolutely ridiculous.
We live and breathe in these communities, and so why wouldn't you want to have a say in what's going on, like in and outside of your home?
All eyes across the country are looking at New York tonight. I'm Sydney Snyder in New York. Back to you in Los Angeles.
Polls in New York will close at 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Annenberg Media will continue to follow the results of the election, and you can stay updated at uscannenbergmedia.com.
The Trump administration will now pay 50% of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, benefits. The program provides food assistance to nearly 42 million Americans.
This is a very, very stressful time for a lot of individuals in our community. My phone has been ringing off the hook. There's been a lot of community meetings, everybody putting their heads together to say, what can we do to get the food out faster?
I often see people waiting in the baking hot sun, sometimes for 2.5 hours.
The judge said the administration could not stop paying benefits during a government shutdown. A contingency fund of $4.65 billion will pay for half of the November benefits.
It's been low-key essential for me to actually get like my groceries and stuff. So having those extra just couple $100 is so, it's literally the difference between me providing a meal for myself for the next week versus me starving. If you are a person, more so if you have to support a family, what are you left with? You're left with nothing.
It is unclear when the benefits will begin to get paid out by individual states. The Trump administration says payments will be delayed.
Former Vice President Dick Cheney died yesterday at the age of 84. He had a history of cardiac and vascular disease and died from complications of pneumonia. Cheney was instrumental in waging the war on terror after 9/11. Today, the White House lowered its flags to half-staff in honor of his memory. Cheney served as vice president under George W. Bush from 2001 to 2009. Before that, he was the Secretary of Defense under Bush Sr. from 1989 to 1993. He began his political journey in Congress, representing Wyoming in the House from 1979 to 1989. The Republican known as the most powerful vice president in history was one of Trump's harshest critics, calling the president a, quote, coward and threat to the republic.
Coming up, an all-female workout club is heating up on campus.
And a sweet new addition to the village is mixing up student dining options.
And later, a former Texas football player is tackling a new purpose. In what was for a long time a male-dominant space, female students here at USC came together and started a Girl Gains chapter, an all-girls fitness club hoping to promote empowerment in and outside the gym. The club gets together once a week to work out. They take part in a wide range of workouts, doing everything from weightlifting to hot yoga.
I wanted to help other women reach their fitness goals as I've been able to, and I wouldn't have been able to do so without Girl Gains here as a community. I joined as a freshman, and 3 years in now, I think that the club has grown to extraordinary measures.
So I was just looking for a group specifically of women to support me in the gym and just a community where I could feel safe and uplifted.
You just have to remind yourself that it's okay to take up space, remind yourself that everyone had to start somewhere.
If you're looking to get involved with Girl Gains, you can find steps to join on their Instagram at SCGirlGains.
Today, the popular healthy food chain Sweetgreen officially opened up a new restaurant in the USC Village. USC students appeared to be very excited about the new dining option. The restaurant received constant foot traffic throughout the day today. USC students are among the first to try this location that features an automated kitchen. And you can see it's already dark outside thanks to daylight savings, and it was a bit colder this morning, at least for me. Lucca, how's it looking ahead of Parents' Weekend?
It was a bit colder, Sebastian. I think people will be wondering for Trojan Family Weekend, people will be hoping that there's nothing but sunshine to come this week. Well, I hate to break it to you guys, but it is November. Temperatures should be getting cooler. Lucky for us, seasons don't really exist in Los Angeles because your families will be treated to a perfect Southern California weekend. What's up, Trojans? I'm Lucca Chrysostomou, bringing you the weather today. Let's kick this update off with current conditions. Currently, it is 63 degrees outside, 79% humidity. It was sunny today, but right now, because of daylight savings, it is completely pitch black dark outside. Going on to 5-day forecast, you can see that we have 75 degrees on Wednesday. It will be a light drizzle in the morning, tomorrow morning. Thursday, 72 degrees, Friday, 77. And as we go on to the weekend, we'll have 84 degrees and 86 degrees, which is perfect for family weekend. So show your families around LA, take them to the beach, great weather for any fun activities you have planned. And while I did say that there's no weather seasons in LA, there is most definitely a new sports season starting up right today. Anthony, tell us what sports season is starting right now.
That's right, Lucca. Women's basketball kicks off their season tonight against New Mexico State. Men's basketball was back on the court last night and got their first win of the season. The college football rankings are out and USC is back on the list. All that and more coming up next on ATVN Sports.
USG election season has kicked off.
They have a huge game on Thursday, right?
Huge. Prior to that, he couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat.
And a warning tonight about a massive storm heading our way.
We're live here at the Galen Center. What would y'all do if you had $2.5 million?
Music, art, and women empowerment.
And she put her stamp on Big Ten history.
Those are men swimming like fish.
Thanks for watching.
Annenberg TV News. You never miss an episode.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Thanks for watching.
So, live from the Halo is USC Annenberg's take on NPR's Tiny Desk concerts. This is like a platform for USC students and adjunct students just to perform and play their music for an audience.
Welcome back to ATVN Sports. I'm Lucca Chrysostomou.
And I'm Anthony Bottino.
The long-awaited start to the USC women's basketball season is finally here, as USC will take on New Mexico State tonight at the Galen Center. While the women of Troy will be without Juju Watkins this season, the squad is joined by 3 new players in Jazzy Davidson, Cara Dunn, and Yakia Milton. Freshman Davidson is looking to start her college career off with a bang, coming in as a first-team All-American and FIBA U19 gold medal winner. While USC faces a tamer opponent in the New Mexico State Aggies tonight, the following games throw the team right into major competition against powerhouses NC State and South Carolina. Tonight's game starts at 7 p.m., so start making your way over to Galen Center soon to catch the start of a promising season.
The men's basketball team already kicked off their season with a dominant victory over Cal Poly last night. The first half was sloppy for the Trojans, and it looked like it'd be a tight game. Then, in the second half, they came out on fire, ending with a 30-point margin of victory, 94-64. Despite the victory, Coach Musselman thinks there's still a lot to work on.
You know, we just didn't play aggressive enough. I thought we were too passive, offensively, and paint points was a big point of emphasis of trying to get to the rim and trying to draw FTAs. And, I thought we did a much better job of that in the second half.
The Trojans will be back in Galen on Sunday to take on Manhattan College and have little under a month until their first Big Ten game.
Similar to men's basketball, USC football is coming off a win, but with some more challenges. As with breaking news, USC football defensive lineman Jamal Jarrett will miss the remainder of the year with a season-ending surgery head coach Lincoln Riley just announced. However, this Friday, the Trojans aim to overcome that obstacle by taking one step closer towards achieving their goal of making the college football playoffs in front of a packed home crowd at the Coliseum. The brand new first CFP rankings of the season have USC at 19th in the country, well in the running to qualify for the playoffs. The most straightforward path for the Trojans to make the CFP would simply be for them to win their last 4 games of the season, which is much easier said than done. 19th ranked USC heads into this Friday night's game against Northwestern eager to build on their win against Nebraska, a game which saw major improvement on the defensive side of the ball and an offense that underperformed expectations. The game starts at 6 p.m. Friday with USC hoping to put on a show for Trojan Family Weekend. Hope to see everyone's parents and siblings out there to support. And that is all for ATVN Sports. I am Lucca Chrysostomou.
And I'm Anthony Bottino. Now we'll send it over to Sebastian to find out what's next on Guided by Purpose.
Thanks, guys, and like you said, up next, Drew Richmond is back with a story featuring a former football player who's changing his path. In this week's Guided by Purpose, Drew Richmond introduces us to a former football player who's taken the lessons from the field into education. Drew, tell us more.
My people in purpose, it's time for me to put you down. I just gotta put you on. Today we're talking about how your gift can open the door, but what you do with it once you walk through it defines your purpose. Chase Moore is a football player at a former football player at the University of Texas. Now he's using that same drive that fueled him on the field to shape young people and build stronger schools.
I saw football as a passport. It got me to a destination, but it was my final destination. The day after we played against the University of Kansas, and I remember I didn't play in that game, and I was a little bit sad because everyone else traveled and I didn't. But then I was like, hold up. I'm about to take the GRE. I'm about to maximize my career in a different way.
Now Chase is at USC getting his doctorate in educational leadership. But what defines him isn't the title, it's the mission. Making sure every kid has the same access to opportunities football once gave him to grow, to learn, and chase purpose.
I want to make sure that the kids that don't have, oh, the kid that didn't eat dinner last night, the kid that didn't sleep because there's a shootout, and he got to sleep on the ground, and he's all of that. But what does it mean if you are from the community, you then come back with the resources that can really change and shape the community? So that's all I want to do.
Ooh, I love the pursuit of purpose. When your gift opens the door, you don't just stop there. You walk through it, you grow, and figure out who you are, guided by purpose.
Thanks so much, Drew, and thanks for watching Annenberg TV News. From everyone at Annenberg Media, I'm Lizzy Brunn.
And I'm Sebastian Soto. For more coverage, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time. Good night.